And herb drug interaction is, I think, the most important part of the subject of every clinician who is treating the patients with Ayurvedic drugs. The most important thing is that these type of many quotations has occurred in Charak, Sushruta, Vagbhat regarding the drug interaction, herb drug interaction, food herb interaction, which has been elaborately discussed by Saurikar sir. So I'm not going to go into any Ayurvedic concept in this presentation, but definitely these Ayurvedic concepts are going to get considered when I'm presenting with the help of biochemistry and molecular biology, because these things, exactly what herb drug interaction, why they occur, when they occur, and how they occur, if we are known with all these concepts, definitely all Ayurvedic clinicians can use this concept very nicely in their practice. Why I tell them that use this concept very nicely in practice is that many a times it has been seen that herb drug interaction specifically has been taken in a very negative way by the modern medicine people. I think that herb drug interaction is that area of our presentation where we can develop an independent practice out of it, that we can be a people who can help to the modern medicine people to help to increase their toxicity of the drugs. That way we can see to the herb drug interaction very nicely, that many a times, as Dr. Chajet told, that there can be a toxicity with rifampicin. If a patient is already having some liver impairment and has to take rifampicin, then the dose is to be restricted. At that time, when we are adding Piper longum to it, when we are adding Tricati to it, definitely the dose of rifampicin can be reduced very clearly up to 150 milligram, where it is ideally 450 milligram, and then we can reduce the toxicity of rifampicin and advocate that drug to the patients very nicely along with Piper longum. So all such type of, there are many positive interactions where we can work. In the last month, I have shared one of the important case in one of the WhatsApp group regarding herb drug interaction. That patient was taking steroids, patient was having alopecia, not only areata but alopecia universalis, taking steroids, also having psoriasis, and then we added glycyrrhiza glabra to it, and then the dose of steroids, they dropped like anything. So this way we can look towards herb drug interaction in a very positive way. Why do every time look with the herb drug interaction in a negative way? They can also have a positive impact. Definitely there are many antibiotics where the patients are resistant to. We can see the multi drug resistance for antibiotics. And at that time, we can reduce the resistance of the antibiotics by adding some herbal medicines to it. So this is can be developed as a different branch of Ayurveda, of for Ayurveda people practicing in the society. That is one of the vision looking towards herb drug interaction. So modern medicine has only recently learned how rapidly pathogen cancers can develop resistance to single ingredient drugs. So the multi-targeted molecules plants may have perfect interacting phytochemical complexes. No doubt, definitely these are the complexes, as Saudikar sir definitely told that, okay, if you are giving two combined drugs, then there are so only 5% hurt to drug interactions. But if you are using chemicals more than 8, then the 100% there is a drug to or herb to drug interactions are there. And then we can, what we can do, we can add certain medicines, we can add certain herbal drugs to modern medicines drugs, which can give a positive results to us. So definitely are we rivals with the modern medicines, because herb drug interaction itself comes to be as a, okay, if there are herb and drug interaction, then we can't, what we can tell is we can't give those medicines, or we can't advocate those medicines to the patients. But definitely we are not rivals, we are actually friends. So we are friends. So basically when we look towards herb and drug interaction, we have a lot of scope to look towards herb and drug interaction in a very, very positive manner. That is what I have to share, that message I want to give, that a common note is that the risk of pharmacokinetic drug interaction poses two major extremity challenges, that is pharmacotoxicity and treatment failure. We experience, as a clinician, I experience that whenever my prescription goes to any consultant, immediately he says that you stop those medicines that can interact. But neither that physician knows that what exactly medicine I am using, and my medicines are helping him to explore his pharmacological activity of his drug, what he is giving. So definitely only people look towards the pharmacotoxicity and treatment failure when we look towards the herb drug interaction. That should not be the context. There are many positive herb drug interaction which can be encashed, which can be leveraged very positively for the patient who are having toxicity of the modern medicine drugs, or who are developing resistance to many of the drugs. So this is very important part what I want to give the message. So these interactions, these, in addition to the intrinsic pharmacodynamic actions of the herbal drug themselves, which may include potentiating, additive, antagonism, and neutralization effects. So these effects can be seen with the drugs. So unfortunately, most trained physicians lack adequate knowledge on the herbal drugs and their potentials for drug interactions. So that also I want to here point out, that when we talk about the pharmacovigilance, basically our fraternity are not trained, not only our fraternity, even modern medicine fraternity are not trained into the herb drug interactions. And so that's why they are not aware that whether these herb and drug interactions, whether how to look into it and how to report it. That's very important. And herbal products also very considerable in the composition depending on the source and package. Most patients do not consider it necessary to disclose their herbal consumption to physicians who themselves hardly inquire it. And many a times it is like that physician ignore. Okay, you are taking Ayurvedic, you can continue. They will not ask that what Ayurvedic medicines they are taking or what other system medicines they are taking. They're least bothered with that. And further challenges with herbal medications include scientific misidentification, product contamination and adulterations, mislabeling, active ingredient instability, variability in collection procedures, and failures of disclosure on the part of the patient. That's very, very important. Many a times label claims are not there. Even patient also don't know what medication he is taking. Patient also doesn't inquire the Ayurvedic doctor what ingredients he is giving. So those are the important things what the patient and doctor both should know. And the herbal products are made up of complex mixture of pharmacologically active phytochemicals. That's a very, very critical, very, very important part of the herb drug interaction. You take only a single garlic, it contains more than 400 phytochemicals. So herbal products are more, and even those phytochemicals of garlic, when taken in the body in vivo, have their interactions with each other. Forget about what we are giving with garlic, then it will again have a different interactions. But these interactions, they are called as endo interactions, and these interactions are also to be considered. So these herbal products, they are complex mixture of pharmacologically active phytochemicals, most of which are the secondary metabolites generated through the skipimate, acetate malonate, and acetate malonate pathways. So that's very important. These constants include phenolics, these include glycosides, these include terpenoids and alkaloids. So there are a number of groups of phytochemicals which interact with each other in the when they are consumed in the body. So as Saurikar sir told, that there is a cocktail, means we are using multiple dosage form, multiple herbo mineral. Already one herb contains many phytochemicals. A single herb, if we try to practice with a single herb itself, it contains number of phytochemicals which can interact either with the food or the concurrent medicines, allopathic medicines he is taking. Secondly, when we are mixing more herbs to each other, again they may have an interaction in the body. Secondly, when we are using a metals with it, again they will have a different interactions. When we are using, for example, we are using certain Mahayogaraj Gugul along with Arogyavardhini, along with certain other Rasakalpas. So it is a total cocktail, means I think the body might be getting confused that to whom that body should answer, or whom the body should what type of drug should be registered to the cytochrome system. Our body could be in confusion. One thing should be kept in all for all of us, all Ayurvedic people, that body behaves with a drug as a drug. body doesn't discriminate that it is an allopathic drug and it is an Ayurvedic drug. Body, it has it behaves to the drug as a drug only. There is no discrimination with the body. Discrimination is in our mind. Body behaves it as a drug only. Whether the tannins are coming or the paracetamol is coming, it has to metabolize it. So these constituents are and a single drug may contain phenolics, may contain glycoside, may contain alkaloids, may contain a single herb. When we are multiplying the herbs, and it may contain more, it may be having more phytochemicals which may interact with each other. So what is the exact mechanism we have to first define? That why the interaction is taking place, how the interaction is taking place, that's very important. So overlapping substrate specificity in the biotransformation pathways of the physiological system is seen as the major reason for drug to drug interaction. So the ability of different chemical moieties to interact with receptor sites of alter physiological environment can explain pharmacodynamic drug interaction, and pharmacokinetic drug interaction arise from altered absorption, interference, and distribution patterns. So this is very important. The other major thing is that the major underlying mechanism of pharmacokinetic herb drug interaction, like drug drug interactions, either the induction or inhibition of the intestinal hepatic metabolic enzymes, particularly CYP enzyme family. Now I'll give you an example. For example, if we are consuming ashwagandha as a powder, as a ashwagandha churn or ashwagandha arisht we are consuming, ashwagandha is not as it is accepted by the body or by the receptors. For example, we are taking licorice, we are taking jeshtamad powder or jeshtamad quath or just any formulation coming out of jeshtamad is not uptaken as it is as jeshtamad by the receptors, but the cytochrome P450 enzymatic system or P glycoprotein system, that is what we call as the effector receptors. So all these receptors, these phytochemicals, they are converted into a secondary or tertiary metabolite, rendering them into a water soluble component. That's very important. So if ashwagandha is working on the nervine tissues or ashwagandha is working on the testicular tissues, the tissues are not going to accept ashwagandha as it is, but the secondary or the tertiary, we don't know, but the secondary or tertiary components of ashwagandha, of certain phytochemicals of ashwagandha, we don't know whether it is withanolide or not. We are telling it withanolide as a marker, but it is not definite that only withanolide may be working from the ashwagandha, or whether glycyrrhizin may be working or vaccine may be working from vasa. So we don't know. Or certain phytochemicals are getting converted into secondary and tertiary metabolites which are getting accepted by the receptors, and then the activities work. So this way we have to get it explained first. So additionally, similar effect on drug transporter and efflux proteins, particularly the P glycoproteins in the intestine, is responsible in the most of the presynaptic activity of CYP and efflux protein, often influence oral bioavailability. Now what happens that many a times that when we are consuming certain drugs, to reduce the toxicity of certain drugs, specifically with the modern drugs, also with certain toxic drugs with Ayurveda or with the toxic doses of the Ayurvedic drugs, what happens, this P glycoprotein, it pump out the active ingredient out of the cell. It is behind the pumping out the active ingredient out of the cell, rendering least of the phytochemicals getting affected on the cell. So the bioavailability of the drug exactly to the receptors and the bioavailability of the drug to the cell itself, to the affected cell itself, is very, very less due to cytochrome P450 enzyme and due to the P glycoproteins. So there are several interactions are possible when taste compounds are. Now again, many a times we have seen that we are working in many WhatsApp groups now, and we know the visions of the people, and many a times it is seen that certain groups, they don't want to explore, or they don't want to include biochemistry and molecular biology and other paramedical sciences into Ayurveda. So for them, I have made this slide that if we explore our pharmacology in the terms of rasa, virya and vipak, even there are taste to taste interactions are also there. Much studies has been occurred on the taste and taste interactions, means how bitter taste interacts with the sweet taste, how bitter taste interacts with the salt taste or with the astringent taste. So there are taste to taste interaction which has an impact on the taste receptor, that too specially extra gustatory taste receptors which elicit the response. So there are certain activities that enhancement activity results from the effect of the addition of one compound to on a taste attribute in a higher than the sum of the individual effect of the two compounds. That will be samanya sarvesham, where we know it is according to taste only. Additive occurs when the sum corresponds to the sum of the individual effects of the two compounds, and suppression or masking effects occurs when this sum is less than the individual effect of the two compounds. So these taste test interactions are dependent on the concentration of taste stimuli. That's very, very important. So not only looking towards the phytochemicals and phytochemistry and molecular biology and biochemistry, even we go into the taste physiology. Then also taste to taste interactions are well studied especially in the area of the food. In the area of the food, that what quality, what tasting food can mask. Means if you want to mask some bitter taste in the food, how we can mask the bitter taste in the food? By adding some other tasted substances into it. So there are a lot of studies regarding this, and this is probably emphasizing the difficulty of separating taste. For instance, sweet has been described to have a masking effect on the bitter reception. Another point to examine, that gene SNP has a different result when reported with TAS R1, R3 and S1, R2. These are all bitter taste receptors. So these taste receptors also have a taste to taste interaction. That only I want to give the message for all our people, our Ayurveda fraternity, that there is also a taste to taste interaction, and these taste to taste interaction, they have an ultimate impact on the taste receptors which are situated on the hepatocytes, on the intestine, on the ovaries, on the testes, on the nervine tissues, on the brain. There are everywhere there are taste receptors. I'll tell you one thing, when we talk about the taste to taste interaction, a very important thing I want to note, that whenever we are tasting certain substance, for example, we are taking Yashtimadhu Quath, which is sweet in taste, we are tasting it. So our taste receptors, gustatory taste receptors on the tongue, they are stimulated immediately. So we will have a different pharmacological impact will be there, will be elected. Different pharmacological impact will be elected when we are tasting the medicine. But when we are encapsulating the medicine, for example, Kirat Tikta is very bitter, or certain most bitter substances, we are encapsulating it in the capsule form or in the tablet form, we are swallowing it. That will not come in the contact with the gustatory taste receptor, and it will have a different pharmacological impact. So that is very important. So this taste to taste interactions are also very important when we consider with the Ayurvedic drugs. So I'll not go in much details of there are peripheral and central mechanisms which govern these taste to taste interactions, and the authors suggest, there is one paper that I have taken the whole paragraph from that paper, and the authors suggest that the hydrochloroquine suppresses sweet response by inhibiting PRMP5 currently that are necessary for the depolarization of taste receptor. In the support of this idea, a strong positive correlation was found between the suppression ratio of the responses to different taste stimuli and the extent to which these responses depend on the bitter taste receptor. So definitely, if we are consuming certain sweet substances along with bitter substance, that's why if we see our kalpas, the drug design of the kalpas, it is not like that certain sweet tastes are also involved and certain bitter taste medicines are also involved and the kalpa is prepared. It is never like that. What we do, it is a synergism we are doing. So that this thing, the taste to taste receptor science, is also very important in the drug designing of Ayurvedic kalpas, where rasa, virya, vipak are considered as a pharmacological tool to explore the medicines. That's very important. So the interaction of the herbal product with hepatic enzymes can also
slides are not moving. Sir, slides are not moving.
They are not moving now.
स्लाइड्स मूव होत नाहीत मुकुंद, एकही स्लाइड मूव झालेली नाहीये. पहिली स्लाइड आहे तुझी टायटलची.
ओके 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 मी बघतो.
स्लाइड शो सुरू करा ना सर.
प्लीज ब्रिंग इट टू प्रेझेंटेशन मोड सर.
प्रेझेंटेशन मोडला आण.
आलं सर?
नाही अजून.
नाही.
ते खाली जो कप असतो ना त्याला क्लिक करा ना, त्याच्या शेजारी. हा
आला आता?
नाही अजून तुमचं तसंच आहे अजूनही त्याच मोडला आहे ते. हा नाही आता तुम्ही स्लाइड शेअर बंद केलाय.
एक मिनिट मी टाकतो.
यू कॅन शेअर द स्लाइड्स. And now make the slideshow. Yes, click it.
F5 दाबना चाहिए, F5.
आला आता?
हे खाली जे कप सारखं असतं नाही अजून सर.
एक मिनिट मी करतो.
हा that one round one.
झालं ना आता?
नाही अजून.
नाही फुल स्क्रीन करना, फुल स्क्रीन.
फुल स्क्रीन केलंय सर मी, केलंय माझ्याकडे.
फुल स्क्रीन करून F5 करा ना.
तो काय
Sir, make it
एनेबल एडिटिंग कर, एनेबल एडिटिंग कर बरं आधी.
yeah, enable editing is must.
हाँ पहले एनेबल करिए उसको.
हे कर पहिल्यांदा.
आता झालं?
नहीं
तो सर पहले आपको एनेबल एडिटिंग द प्रोटेक्टेड व्यू है उसको
नहीं,
निकालिए सर.
किया है एनेबल एडिटिंग किया है सर मैंने.
बट इट इज शोइंग एनेबल एडिटिंग नाउ.
ओके.
हाँ नाउ इट मे कम.
बहुतेक सेटिंग मध्ये जाऊन करावं लागेल.
परत एकदा शेअर कर स्क्रीन. हा आता येतंय.
करा आता करा स्लाइड शेअर.
आता हे आणि फुल स्क्रीन कर. फुल
Yes.
हा करेक्ट.
आता आलंय. करेक्ट
थैंक यू. करेक्ट.
घे आता जी स्लाइड चालू होती ती घे.
राईट.
ठीक आहे.
So we were talking about the taste-to-taste receptors, and these taste-to-taste interactions are very, very important when we consider about the Kalpa design or the design of the Ayurvedic formulation, that we don't actually mix certain sweet taste medicines along with the bitter taste medicine. That is a big science, and that has been explored very well in Charak Shishut Vagbhat. So the same thing, it has been mentioned over here, it has been studied very nicely, that taste to taste interactions are also very important, and these interactions are studied more in the area of food than in the medicine. But there is a lot of scope to study all such type of things in the area of medicines also. So taste to taste interactions are also to be considered when we consider the pharmacology, Ayurvedic pharmacology in the terms of Rasavirya and Vipak. So the interaction of the herbal products with hepatic enzyme can also result in the pharmacodynamic effects. So basically when we talk about interactions, majority of the time these interactions are to be considered when either the uptake is impaired, or there is a problem with the uptake, or when the liver is impaired. So specific liver injury inducible by phytochemical agents include elevation in the transminase enzyme. So first tool, as Ravinarayan sir rightly pointed out, that how to elect the response, whether there is a drug interaction or not. So the whether if some patients are taking concurrent modern medicine and Ayurvedic drugs simultaneously for months together or for weeks together, then a simple test, what we can tell as a liver transminase enzymes, a very cheap test, liver function test, can be done in such condition, which can show that whether there are herb to drug interactions. I have recorded 3 patients with me who are having great toxicity or have developed autoimmune problems. I have just in our that journal of herb drug interaction, I have mentioned those cases, and that they have developed autoimmune disease when we were adding some Ayurvedic drugs, specifically Tinospora cordifolia. Those patients were showing autoimmune hepatitis when Tinospora cordifolia was added to them, and that was totally recorded. And then we have recorded those patients. 3 patients I have in my practice of 22-23 years, I have come across 3 such type of patients who are showing autoimmunity against Tinospora cordifolia. So and this can be identified just by going by for SGPT, SGOT levels, and then we can again go for certain anti-nuclear antibodies test also. So this liver injury mechanism, so mechanism of liver injury may include bioactivation of CYP, oxidative stress, mitochondrial injury, and apoptosis can be seen with the herb drug interactions. So induction in the increase in the intestinal and hepatic enzyme activity as a result of increased mRNA transcription leading to protein level higher than normal physiological values. So these type of tests can be useful to check us whether our patient is landing into herb-drug interactions or not. So apart from enzyme induction, herbal product can also inhibit enzyme activities. So the inhibition of CYP and other metabolic enzyme is usually competitive and with instantaneous and inhibitor concentration dependent effects. Most inhibitors are also substrate to CYP. That's very, very important. And this phenomena alterates pharmacokinetic profiles of xenobiotics significantly as the result of the suppression of the anticipated presynaptic intestinal and hepatic metabolism. Unusually high plasma levels of xenobiotics are observed. Means, for example, if we are using, I'll give us just an example of spironolactone, that is a diuretic along with Glycyrrhiza glabra. So diuretic along with Glycyrrhiza glabra, it will increase the toxicity of what we call as the spironolactone, and this because it is suppressing the CYP is suppressing, or the Glycyrrhiza glabra is suppressing the same enzyme what spironolactone is also suppressing. So this gives the drug to drug interaction. So there can be a toxic manifestation, could be ultimate effect of this observation. And equally clinical important consequence of enzyme inhibition is drug accumulation due to subdued hepatic clearance. So as there is no hepatic, because I told you initially that whenever the liver is impaired, the clearance of the metabolites, secondary or tertiary metabolites is not there, that can land a person into drug to herb interaction. So we have to be more cautious when liver is impaired, when kidneys are impaired, and when the intestines are impaired, then there are more chances that patient may get herb to drug interaction and he can face toxic effects. So the probability of the interaction should be evaluated on the 10-point scoring scale. That is adequate patient history, concurrent diseases, concurrent conditions, documentation of concomitant medication, adequate description of interactions, exclusion of obvious alternative explanations, complete chronology, reasonable time sequence of drug administration to adverse event, adequate description of the adverse event, and cessation of event on stopping the drug, recurrence of event with the rechallenge. This we have observed with what I shared with the Tinospora cordifolia, that when we were giving the patient Tinospora cordifolia in a dose of 6 to 7 grams powder per day for certain allergic problems, then the patient was increasing with the SGOT, SGPT level, and then certain patients showed their bilirubin up to 2.3, 2.5. Once we stop the education of Tinospora cordifolia, again the levels came down. This happened several times, then we reported it. So reporting is very important. So we have to be very, very careful. Two of these patients were having grade 3 fatty liver. So we have to be very vigilant when the patient is having impaired liver, when the patient is having impaired abdomen, where the renal functions are also impaired with the patient. There are more chances to get the herb and drug interactions. So these interactions are called as endo interactions, that as defined previously happen between phytochemicals that are naturally co-occurring with the edible plants and modify the pharmacological properties of the food or extract. Now these endo interactions are very, very important because I think Saurikar sir knows it very well, that he has fought for that the nutraceuticals which are coming up with the Ayurvedic herbs, this is very, very important interactions with the nutraceuticals, that there are certain nutraceuticals, there are certain Ayurvedic herbs which can increase or decrease the uptake of that particular nutraceuticals along with the herbal medicines. So there are very, very strong endo interactions with the food, edible plants, and the extracts. So when interactions such of these area potentiating the efficacy of the biological activity is intensified. So for instances of potentiation of the interference between co-occurring phytochemicals are generally well recognized and often cited, but few exceptions are seldom valid or quantified. So this is very, very important. In the area of nutraceuticals, there are endo interactions between herb to food. Similarly, there are exo interactions also. So notions that food, drug, and dietary supplement, when these three things, they interact very badly with each other. So while discussing exo interaction, food and dietary supplements can be treated as one category. This is very important. Food and dietary supplement as a one category, and the herbal extracts or herbal medicines as a different category. Both usually represent complex mixture of the ingested compound. For example, if we are just taking Chyawanprash along with milk, it is a food. Milk is in the category of food, and Chyawanprash is in the category of medicine. If we are taking Chyawanprash along with milk, that will have a very strong exo interaction. Also, new food and dietary supplements are regulated differently than drugs, and many do not undergo extensive toxicity testing and rigorous human trials before leading sold to the public. So that is very, very important. We are blindly telling to the public that majority of the families, they are consuming Chyawanprash along with milk, and there are very strong exo interactions with them. We can identify these interactions by certain biomarkers like advanced glycation. There are many advanced glycation end products. So with the help of these advanced glycation end products, we can identify the interactions very nicely. We can identify we can prove to the society that yes, these interactions are toxic when taken in a very longer period. When these, for example, Chyawanprash and milk, when they are constantly consumed for months together, then it will show advanced glycation end products having an impact on the hepatic tissues, on the intestinal tissues, on the smooth muscles. Then we can able to identify this, yes, these are the strong interactions. So phytochemicals that later bioavailability by interfering with drug metabolism system, such as cytochrome P450 enzyme, have probably generated the broadest attention, where the subject of two excellent recent reviews are there. I have quoted the cited the reference. Because phytochemicals may both suppress and stimulate P450 enzyme, it is not surprising that they may interfere the effect of the variety of the drug. That's very important. So the food herb interaction, food herb and medicine interaction, those are very, very important in my vision. So coming to the exact what type of interaction, this is very interesting area now coming, because we are just, I have to explain the theoretical context behind that. I have showed those slides. So there are many interactions. For example, resveratrol comes up with all the draksha. Resveratrol comes from the all red wines, or resveratrol comes even in peanuts from the food. So resveratrol, a dietary polyphenolic with anti-cancer properties, may potentiate the effect of other chemotherapeutic drugs in drug-resistant tumor cells, not only with aspirin, clopidogrel, warfarin, and many or chemotherapeutic drug. But what I have a personal experience with resveratrol is that resveratrol interacts very nicely with methotrexate. Now, methotrexate is a highly toxic drug where we have to every time monitor the B12 levels, we have to monitor the liver function test, we have to monitor the kidney function test. So, resveratrol reduces the dosage or increases the activity of methotrexate, making methotrexate more bioavailable for the receptor tissues. So, wherever we require nearly 15 milligram twice a day or 10 milligram twice a day for the patients of arthritis, adding a resveratrol to it can reduce the dose of methotrexate, can reduce the dose of reduce the toxicity of the dose of methotrexate, and give the patient a better relief with a very, very lower doses. So these are the interactions with the herbs and drugs. Then components such as large molecular weight tannins. So whatever, for example, Triphala is having abundant tannins, Arjun is having abundant tannins, they are full of tannins. They are highly reactive with majority of the modern medicine drugs, and they are also having interactions with our herbal drugs also. So I think many of the kalpas, either they have a Triphala or Trikatu, because they interact very fast with the herbal drugs itself. They have herb to herb interactions. So such as large molecular weight tannins and related polyphenols contains multiple charge group, and thus may cause direct precipitation or binding inactivation of the drugs or bioactive agents. Tannins, which are from Arjun-like things, which are from Triphala-like things, may also interfere with the enzymes in the digestive system, altering the bioavailability of the pharmaceutical agent. That's very important. Many a times, many people, for the purpose of constipation, consume Triphala for years together, along with their sedative medicines at night, along with their antihypertensive medicines at night, along with their antidiabetic, and these Triphala has a great interaction because Triphala increases the gastric emptying time. Lot of studies has been done on the gastric emptying time on Triphala, the gastric emptying time of Amalki, and these medicines, they increase the gastric emptying time. And if these medicines are taken within half hours along with Triphala powder of 1 spoon or 2 spoons at night, then there will be less time available to uptake the anti-diabetic, anti-hypertensive or sedative medicines, rendering or reducing their effect. So such type of interactions are very, very important in the regular practice. So combinations of the natural compounds improve or facilitate the interaction of an antimicrobial agents also. Now this is again a very, very big area that many a times we nowadays see lot of drug resistance in, for example, there is a drug resistance, antibiotic resistance in tuberculosis. There are many antibiotics, they are resistant to specific species, and there are many reasons why they are resistant. We are going to talk on it because that is a very important area. We never thought, we have experience in government pharmacy college Aurangabad, that we have seen that certain herbs, certain formulation, they have an interaction with the antibiotics also. We have worked on Kajali, and we have seen that Kajali increases the uptake of ciprofloxacin. Kajali increases the bioavailability of atenolol. Okay, so these type of interactions are very useful. So even we can, adding with this, we can reduce the dose of ciprofloxacin, or definitely if there are certain resistance strains of bacteria, then definitely along with antibiotics, certain herbs are known to reduce the resistance. I'm going to show you how they reduce the resistance. But this is very important interaction even for the general practitioners. Not only Ayurveda consultants, but even with general practitioner, they can just add our medications to the modern medicine prescription, and they can reduce the resistance of antibiotic, and they can increase the bioavailability of antibiotics, along with, just as Sajid said, he has worked with rifampicin and piper longum. Similarly, there are interactions with other herbs, knowing the mechanism of action, how it exactly increases the mode of action. So herbal drugs and their isolated phytochemicals have found that are active on almost all targets. For example, tilimarindin and collagen inhibit PBA2A, gallic acid, thymol and carvacol improves bacterial outer membrane permeability. Epigalactate, catechin gallate, EGCG, it also comes in Amalki, inhibits beta lactamase. So as we know, the augmentin tablet, it has a certain bioavailability enhancer. So similarly, Amalki also works on beta lactamase, and Riserpine, isomarine, EGCG and carnosine acid inhibit bacterial efflux pumps. Now this is a very interesting story, that bacteria also have a efflux pump. Means when certain medicines, they enter into the cell of bacteria, those bacteria, they fastly kick out the antibiotic out of the cell, keeping them intact. So there are certain herbal medicine which inhibit the bacterial efflux pumps, making the antibiotic more available to kill that bacteria. So these are the certain important interactions. Now coming to the one of the important concept, that sanskaro hi gunantara dhanam, that has come from Charak Sutrasthan. So even the sanskar done on the medicine also elicits drug interaction. That's very, very important. So when we talk about the drug interaction, we have to talk about in vitro, means drug interaction out of the body, drug interactions inside the body. So interaction outside the body, interaction in Panchavidha Kashaya Kalpana Nirman, that is, we are using multiple herbs together and preparing kwath or preparing gutika, preparing asavarishta. They also interact with each other, creating some complex molecules interacting when they go inside the body. And in vivo, that is interaction inside the body. So there are certain interactions which are called as additive effects. I'll not explain this in detail because everybody knows it. But what I want to point out, that the additive effect is there, antagonism effect is there. But the third is, that is anupan, which is also be taken into consideration when we are thinking about drug interaction. Many a time in the research proposal comes, people don't consider anupan as a drug. That's very important. In research proposals also, anupan should be considered as a drug only, and this anupan also interacts with the drug in vitro and in vivo also. It may be antagonizing for certain phytochemicals, or it may be additive to the certain phytochemicals, but that should be analyzed very correctly when we are advocating certain anupan to the patients. So there are certain type of interactions, that is Viruddhar, what sir has elaborated very nicely. Food and food interactions regarding Viruddhar, food and drug interactions, drug and drug interactions are there. Then herb to herb interactions are there, that is synergistic effect, antagonist effect. Herb to synthetic drug interaction is a very big chapter what we are going to deal. Then drug and beverages interaction. There are many interactions along with alcohol, along with Asa Rishtakalpana. There are many interactions along with the tobacco or smoking also. And anupan and drug interactions are also there. So when we think about interaction in a clinic, all these interactions should be kept in the mind while prescribing any medicine to the patients. So herb drug interaction can occur at the pharmaceutical, pharmacodynamic, and pharmacokinetic. So these are the three things where we can think about the herb drug interaction. And similarly, when we think about all these herb drug interaction, the metabolism of the conventional drug involves two phases. There is a first phase which is governed by cytochrome P450 family of the enzymes, and then there is a second phase, that is the second enzymes, especially glutathione S transferase, that is GST, the sulfotransferase, that is SALT, and uridine 5 diphosphate gluconosyl transferase, that is UGT. So GST, SALT, and UGT, these are the three important enzymes in the second phase, converting the whole drug into the tertiary or secondary metabolite, which is actually a drug acting at the site of the receptor. So what we think is ashwagandha, shunthi, gulwel, all these things, we are apparently thinking, okay, it works to the rasa. So we have discussed about the rasa-rasi interaction also. But when it comes to the phytochemistry, because again I want to tell you that body doesn't discriminate herb and drug, means modern medicine drug and Ayurvedic drug, differently, because liver is one. So body looks as a drug, and when all these interactions are there, the secondary and tertiary metabolites are to be considered. And fortunately, lot of studies are going on extra Ayurveda, that what are the secondary and tertiary metabolites of these Ayurvedic these medicinal herbs. And we are coming to know that what are the secondary and tertiary metabolites of many herbs. Now it is known to us. Just we have to incorporate in our syllabuses for post graduation or for the doctorate studies, that how these interact actually with each other. So a famous interaction between grapefruit juice and drug interaction is that the grapefruits or any even orange juice or the grape juice, it increases the bioavailability of the antihypertensive drug, that is nifedipine, and it increases the bioavailability 10 to 20 folds. So if the patient is taking in the morning hours, the patient is taking grape juice or orange juice along with the antihypertensive calcium channel blocker, then definitely the patient is bound to have a hypotensive episode in the day, because it increases the bioavailability of that drug. So drug taken with grape juice and drug taken without grape juice, you can see, and it increases the bioavailability, and that has a bad impact on the hemodynamic status of that patient. So who interacts? Who is responsible for this interaction? That is cytochrome P450 enzyme is responsible. So the term cytochrome P450 refers to the group of enzymes which are located on the endoplasmic reticulum of many cells. These enzymes are so particular importance when studying drug biotransformation and drug metabolism. So a thorough study of cytochrome P450 enzymatic system should be there, at least when we are learning about Rashastra and Dravigun specialties. So what are the secondary and tertiary metabolites which are getting converted either by stimulation or by inhibition of the cytochrome P450 enzyme system, soon to be one of the metabolism and detoxification of the endogenous compounds after they have been taken in by mouth in the process of eating. This accounts for the high concentration of these enzymes located in the liver and small intestines. So I'll not go in much details of this cytochrome P450 enzyme system. We'll go to directly the applicability of these drug interactions. So when we think about, because majority of the dosage forms, they are in the form of in the oral dosage forms, we can see that when a dose is given, it gets disintegrated, the dissolution is there, precipitation is there, and then this dissoluted or precipitated drug is absorbed by the enterocytes. When they absorbed by the enterocytes, again the intestinal wall decides what to uptake and what not to uptake. There is larger molecule phytochemicals, smaller size phytochemicals. So the larger size phytochemicals are not uptaken as it is. Again, they are reprocessed and then they are uptaken, and then it goes to the blood, and with the process of cytochrome 450 enzymes, which are located in the at the enterocyte levels. So the rate of absorption based on the permeability. So how is the permeability of the intestine? On that the rate of absorption depends. I remember one of the famous thing what every time sir quoted to us in when we are studying our post-graduation course, that the permeability is very important. For example, many of the people still today, they take bharad churna when they are preparing kwath. There is no any quotation which shows that kwath should be prepared with bharad churna. Here the particle size is very important. So more the bharad churna we are taking, less the phytochemicals coming in the kwath. So actually speaking, when we are preparing kwath, interactions are very important. What particle size of churna we are taking. So the small particle size churna, it will have a more effect, more surface area, more physiochemical properties, more transporter, and efflux will be very correct when we are taking a proper particle size, not bharad churna. So these are very important thing, that is rate of absorption based on permeability when we are taking the kashayas internally. Then distribution, that is membrane permeability across the membrane to the site of action. Plasma protein binding, that bound drugs do not cross membranes, that is due to malnutrition or albumin or increased free drug. And lipolicity of the drug, that is lipophilic drugs accumulate in the adipose tissue. That's very important. A famous example of the lipophilicity of the drug, we can take the example of curcumin. Now when we talk about Haridra very high, but the active ingredient which is known till date, whether it is correct or not, we don't know, because there is a lot of phytochemicals present in again curcuma longa. But when we consider curcumin, that curcumin is a fat soluble. If we are using curcumin in kwath, if we are using curcumin in the water soluble dosage form, then the lowest curcumin will be bioavailable and it will not be distributed among all the tissues. So we have to use, because there is a drug interaction. Here we have to use such type of dosage form like Ghruta or Tela along with curcumin, which will increase the bioavailability of the curcumin, making it more fat soluble. So this is how the distribution works. Then metabolism, drugs and toxins are seen as foreign to the patient's body. That's very important. Whether it may be Gulvel, whether it may be Rasayan, whether it may be Ekanta Hitkar, whether it may be Ekanta Ahitkar, a drug which is taken by the body will be seen as a foreign substances by the body. So drugs can undergo metabolism in the lungs, blood and liver. Body works to convert drugs to less active forms and increases water solubility to enhance elimination. That's very important. So many a times what I told you in the initial slides, that whenever cytochrome P450 enzyme system or the phase 2 metabolism takes place, it makes the drug more water soluble, increases water solubility to enhance the elimination. Because as the bodies consider the drug as a foreign substance, it looks that it should be eliminated very fast. That is the function of the body. That's how the body works with the drugs. So as and when any drug comes to us, body first sees that how to make that drug water soluble, and that makes make that drug out of the body. So liver is the primary route of drug metabolism. Liver may be used to convert prodrugs to an active drugs. That's again very important, that there are certain herbs, certain phytochemicals which are inert, which are inactive when taken orally, but there are certain reactions of the phase 1 and phase 2 metabolism that makes the drug active when it is taken in vivo. Many a times in vitro activities are seen of the drugs. For example, cell line studies, in vitro activities are studies, but when the body consumes that drug, and when the phase 1 phase 2 metabolism occurs, then certain phytochemicals are supposed to become active and then they work at that site. That is again a importance of metabolism. This is here how I have shown about the how the metabolism works. That is, first when it comes to the intestinal tract, it is processed by the P glycoprotein and cytochrome enzymes in the enterocytes. Then it enters to the liver. Then cytochrome P450 enzymatic system working in the liver works. making the drug into a secondary metabolism phase. Then it goes to the into the blood, it acts on the tissues, and then it is excreted by the kidneys, and here the tertiary metabolism works. So when we talk about the drug metabolism usually decreases the extent to which an administered drug is retained in the body. The underlying principle is that converting a drug into more water soluble substance, it may be a modern medicine drug or it may be a Ayurvedic drug. First, specifically with metals, first body has to, when we are taking metals, we are more loading the cytochrome P450 enzymatic system, we are more loading the P glycoprotein system, because this system has to make whatever the metallic preparations we are taking, they have to be rendered into a water soluble components. That's very, very important. So phase 1 reaction is located with the endoplasmic reticulum. Through electron transport chain, a drug bound to the CP450 enzymatic undergoes oxidation or reduction. Then enzymatic induction is there, and drug interaction takes place at a either cytochrome P450 activity or while hydrolysis, oxidation, reduction, demethylation, methylation, and alcoholate dehydrogenase activities in the first phase only. So drug interaction takes place at this level, or drug interaction takes place as a phase 2 level at the glycine conjugation, glucuronide conjugation, and sulfate conjugation. I'm going to show you the examples with the herb drug interactions with the phase 2 interactions also. So I'm not going into much detail because I want to go with the practical applicability of the herb drug interaction. Yes. Now, what are the pharmacodynamic actions? So these type of interactions are most important interactions which frequently occur in the body. Specifically, we can categorize in the interactions with GI system, interaction with the endocrine system, interaction with the reproductive system, interaction with the cardiovascular system, interaction with the electrolytes, such type of interactions. Now, a best example, what sir has quoted that as that study, that was the serendipity actually, that was the accidental research that Shankapushpi and phenantoin sodium, they interact very badly. That was recognized in Sassoon Hospital, Pune itself. And that showed that Shankapushpi inhibited the uptake of phenantoin, increase in the epileptic attack of the patient taking into it. So definitely Jatamounsi and central nervous system depressant, they have an additive activity. Ashwagandha and central nervous system depressant, they have an additive activity. Drug acting on neurotransmitters, there's L-DOPA with Macuna, they have a synergistic activity. Brahmi, Jatamounsi, Bacha, all these activities, they have a synergistic activity along with central nervous system suppressing drugs. So that's a very important interaction. Drug acting on GI system, metal to metal interaction, that is a very big subject again to talk about the metal to metal interactions, because we see, for example, you take Arogyavardhini, there are 4-5 metals into it. You take any herbo-mineral drug, dosage form or kalpa, there are 4-5 metals into it. So there are in vitro interactions, there are in vivo interactions. While processing also, there are number of interactions. Well, when we are going for a Maran, there are number of interactions. When we are going for the Bhavanas, there are number of interactions. So these interactions, that is a very big topic. I'm not going to talk on it. But metal to herb interaction in context to absorption, metal deposits in mucus, liver, etc. Interaction with aluminium, mercury, calcium, they interact very, very badly with each other. So these type of interactions are to be avoided. Anti-ulcer medicines preserves mucus, increases mortality. For example, licorice. Now, see, I can tell you one very, very interesting drug interaction with licorice with all the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. For example, take diclofenac sodium or take brufen. These are all non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug which has an prostaglandin suppressing activity at a mucosal level in the gut. Okay. Now, licorice is that medicine, that anti-ulcer medicine, which has an prostaglandin releasing activity in the gut. So on the one side, you are having prostaglandin enhancing activity. On the other side, you are giving prostaglandin inhibiting activity. But the best part is that if licorice is advised along with brufen or along with diclofenac sodium, the chances of getting peptic ulcer and gastric ulcers are less. This is how we can add with our medication. So these interactions are at a tissue level, at a gut level, at a mucosal level. When these interactions will go at a phase 1 or phase 2 metabolites, then it may be like that licorice may reduce the activity of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs also. That is not studied yet. So bioavailability enhancer, that is Kajili, Piperine, Shunti. Now we'll take an example. If you just go through all the kalpas which have been explained in Bharat Bhaishya Ratnagar, you can see that more than 40 to 50% of kalpas, they have Trikatu into them. Either they have Kajili into them. These Trikatu, for example, if you take the example of Trikatu stimulates the autonomous nervous system and increases the blood flow towards the intestine. What it affects? It increases the bioavailability of the drugs given along with Trikatu. That's how the rifampicin dose is reduced when given with Trikatu. This is how it works. So drugs acting on the endocrine system, insulin with herbal hypoglycemic drug. I have faced a very bad drug interaction with insulin and herbal hypoglycemic drug. I'll tell you one story, a very short story, that one of my patients who was taking insulin 3 times a day came to my lab and he was giving the blood for his blood test. And my technician told him that yes, you can have Karela juice along with this insulin and your sugar level will come down very drastically. And that patient, he listened to that technician and started taking Karela juice in the dose of 30 ml per day along with insulin. Or the 5th, 6th day, he landed into severe hypoglycemia where when we checked, the sugar level were only 40. So this is a very strong herbal hypoglycemic drug with insulin. Then thyroid plus herbal antithyroid drugs means thyroxine interacts very badly with Google and Ashwagandha. So these interactions are very, very bad interactions. Antiprolactin drug like bromocriptine plus Shatavari. Here, bromocriptine it will reduce the galactagogue effect. Shatavari will increase the galactagogue. It interacts very badly. Herbal drugs like Sarpagandha and estrogen, plant estrogen from soya proteins, they interact very badly with bromocriptine and with the estrogens. Estrogen plus aloe plus ashok means many a times what we do when the patients are on the hormone replacement therapy, we again add aloe or ashok. These are low estrogen stimulators that will have an add-on effect on the estrogen and will have an more aromatization into the adipose tissues when the patients are on hormonal replacement therapies. So here I have shown certain diagrams. So on the left, models of 3 human estrogens, that is estradiol, estrogen, estriol. To the right, the isoflavone, gestagen, diadesin, and glycine. Notice the general stimulus structure. If you see the chemical structure of the soya proteins and of the 3 human estrogens, they are moreover similar, and that can interact very, very badly, giving a synergistic effect, increasing the effect of estrogen when the patients are taking. So when the patients are taking hormone replacement therapies, a proper dose of soya protein should not be given in a pharmacological dose. Even herbal supplement in the form of soya can have an impact on it. So this I have explained that Karela, it hasn't been named because of the fruit contain a polypeptide made of 17 amino acid, of which 16 are similar to crystalline insulin or bovine origin. So Karela and insulin have a very bad interaction. I can't say it bad, but it has a very strong interaction. But this interaction, if it is monitored very correctly, Karela juice definitely can reduce the dose of insulin and can reduce insulin resistance into the patient very correctly. This is again a positive side of all these things. Again, drugs acting on the cardiovascular system. The drug acting on cardiovascular system, warfarin plus garlic, it has a very strong interaction. Platelet aggregating inhibitors, blood thinners, myocardial suppressants with cardiac stimulators, beta blockers with Googles, hypolipidemic agents with statins, not at all allowed. If you are giving it, you have to monitor it very perfectly. That's very important. Blindly you can't give it. And how to monitor it? Monitor first parameter is SGOT, SGPT, liver function test. When it is concerned with the cardiovascular system, then go for the lipid profiles. Go for the apolipoproteins. Go for the lipoprotein lipase. With all these things, if you know the exact pharmacology of the herbs, then you can advise such type of medicines along with the hypolipidemic agents or along with the beta blockers. Now, for example, I'll give a good example of beta blockers with Google. And when beta blockers with Google is advocated, for example, a patient is hypertensive and also having osteoarthritis. For hypertension, the patient is taking beta blocker, and for osteoarthritis, he is taking 2-3 Google preparations. Google inhibits the uptake of beta blockers. So when the patient starts Google, what happens? The blood pressure rises. And when the patient tells it to the physician, modern medicine physician, that modern medicine physician feels that the Ayurvedic medicine you are taking, it contains steroids and that is increasing your blood pressure. See, because of the lack of knowledge, what confusions can be created. But the exact interaction is that Google interacts with beta blocker, rendering that it inhibits the uptake of beta blockers when given concurrently. So such type of interactions should be avoided. Then ACE inhibitors, means all the angiotensin inhibitors enhance the dehydrogenase activity of 11B hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase 11-HSD, which is thought to contribute to their ability to cause sodium excretion with the kidneys. So definitely any angiotensin inhibitor giving activity along with licorice will reduce the dose of angiotensin inhibitor enhancing, and their hypertensive activity will be reduced. So such type of medicines can't. So what interactions can be seen in the blood? The mechanism is that collagen receptor antagonists are there, thromboxane receptor antagonist is there, inhibitor of phosphoinositide breakdown. And these interactions can be seen just by garlic, can be seen with any herb which has rich with vitamin K, with soybeans, with beetroot, with cabbage, with all medicines which are low estrogen stimulators. These can have an impact on the INR of the patient. That's why even INR is a very good biomarker to see the drug and drug interaction working at a platelet level, at a blood level, and at a cardiovascular level. So those patients who are taking blood thinners, or those patients of DVT who are taking warfarin, you can give our medicines. For example, if you are giving resveratrol, the biomarker is every weekly you have to go for the INR. If the INR is changing, definitely you can reduce the dose of warfarin in this patient. This way you can go look to the interactions very positively, reducing the risk of the patient by reducing warfarin. Then proteolytic enzymes, that food coming from bromelain derived from pineapple, rutin derived from many fruits, increase the absorption of antibiotics, especially amoxicillin. So that is also a very good interaction. We use regularly this bromelain, rutin in our clinics to increase the bioavailability with not only with the amoxicillin, but the bioavailability of the anti-inflammatory drugs also can be increased with bromelain. Not only bromelain, even curcumin also increases the bioavailability given in a correct dosage form. So again, rifampicin interacts very badly with fenugreek. So rifampicin, when given with anti-diabetic drug, reduces the activity of anti-diabetic drug. So that can be also be seen, that should be kept in mind. So even resveratrol, it reacts with diclofenac sodium. Resveratrol, it reacts with chlorhexazone. So resveratrol, I'm telling you the molecule, but this molecule is present in many Ayurvedic formulations. So we have to identify those formulations which contain resveratrol and that are not to be given, or that to be given with cautious, with diclofenac sodium, with chlorhexazone, with methotrexate, or there are many herbs which interacts with resveratrol. So just methotrexate I have mentioned here. Then Andrographis paniculata, it also has a severe interaction with digoxin. So many a times patient take concurrent Ayurvedic medicines which contain Tiktarasatmak medicine, and that is Andrographis paniculata. That is Andrographis paniculata which inhibit glycoprotein mediated efflux of digoxin, and that's why the toxicity of digoxin can be increased if it is given with the concurrent advocation of Andrographis paniculata. So these interactions are to be taken very seriously because digoxin toxicity is very severe. So patients who are on digoxin should be given all such type of medicines very cautiously, because it inhibits the PGP. What is the role of PGP? It kicks out the toxicity of digoxin out of the cell. So while giving Andrographis paniculata, you are inhibiting P-glycoprotein, making more and more toxic to digoxin. So here we are telling about the interactions of garlic. So there are a number of phytochemicals in garlic. So the aged garlic exerts antioxidant action by scavenging reactive oxygen species. So it inhibits lipid peroxidation, reducing ischemic damage and inhibiting oxidative modification of LDL. Now, the mode of action of garlic and mode of action of Arjun are totally different. Arjun, in some part, also has an activity like stannin, that is HMG-CoA reductase enzyme activity. But garlic doesn't have that activity of HMG-CoA reductase enzyme. It has different mode of action. So the question of Chajed sir, that whether it can be used with guggulgul, can be used with garlic or with statins or hypolipidemic drug, that is the mode of action should be first pointed out, that garlic can be used but Arjun or Google can't be used because their mode of actions are different. So here the interactions plays a very important role. Aspirin inhibits cyclooxygenase. Cyclooxygenase is a key enzyme involved in the synthesis of thromboxane 2 and inhibits platelet aggregation. The same mechanism of action of garlic. So either you give the patient fresh garlic, I'm talking fresh garlic, not aged garlic. Fresh garlic means he has to crush it and take it immediately because the diallyl disulfide, because sir has correctly pointed out, Saudikar sir has correctly pointed out, the time is very important. So garlic only works, the diallyl disulfide, that phytochemical, it disintegrates within 10 minutes. So it should be consumed freshly. Freshly taken garlic, if taken concurrently with aspirin, will increase the bleeding tendency of the blood. So similarly, so definitely garlic can't begin. Either you have to give garlic or you have to give aspirin. And definitely, even before going for any surgeries, such type of medicines like garlic should also be holded. That is not enlisted into the modern medicine protocol. That's very important. That if the patient, what the anesthetist asks the patient, whether you are taking blood thinners or not, then the patient tells, yes, I take blood thinner. Aspirin is withdrawn before the surgery, but patient doesn't discloses that he is taking garlic regularly, 5 to 6 cloves regularly, and then the problem can occur. So that should be included in the protocol of the surgeons, of the anesthetists, that whether they are taking such type of blood thinners or not. That's very important. So they have a very strong interaction, not only with aspirin, but it has an interaction with ticlopidine, it has an interaction with dipyridamole, it has an interaction with sulfenpyrazone also. It has an interaction with the antiviral drugs also. So cases of gastrointestinal toxic effects with combination with garlic and ritonavir is studied. Combination of result in decreased effectiveness of ritonavir is studied. Prolongs the time for blood to clot, increase the risk of bleeding with warfarin. So these are all well studied interactions. Then coming to licorice, I have discussed with the licorice activity with spironolactone. Then angiotensin converting enzyme, you can't give it, licorice can't be given with the digoxin, with the angiotensin converting enzyme. Licorice can't be given with any of the diuretics. And again, licorice should not be combined even along with Goksur and Punarnava also, because at a cellular level, the pharmacological activities of the active components of Punarnava and Goksur are similar as diuretics. It works at that level. So these combinations, Punarnava, Goksur, or all other actually working diuretic, I am talking actually working diuretic phytochemicals, that should not be advocated along with licorice. So again, there are positive interactions also. Systemic administration of glycerin with prednisolone to human was shown to alter the pharmacokinetic of parameters of prednisolone by significantly increasing the concentration of both total and free prednisolone in plasma. These results suggested that ingestion of licorice could interact with corticosteroids, increasing the uptake of steroids. So whenever you want to reduce the dose of steroids or reduce the toxicity of the catabolic steroids, definitely specifically with the prednisolone, I'm not talking about dexamethasone, I'm very specific with the prednisolone, then definitely licorice can come to help to us to reduce the dose of the steroid. Again, licorice can interact with the oral contraceptive pills also. So licorice should not be, because many a times, not in India, but in the Western countries, there is a habit with the people to consume licorice candies. They consume licorice candies regularly, and those licorice candies can render the patient into the hypokalemia when they are taking concurrent oral contraceptive pills also. So these interactions are not to be consumed. Now here I am showing one very interesting interaction of licorice with paracetamol. Now see that acetaminophen can be metabolized in 3 directions. One direction gives a metabolite that is toxic to liver cells. However, glutathione can bind to the toxic metabolite and make it non-toxic. So licorice stimulates glutathione and makes paracetamol non-toxic, where paracetamol can't be used in liver toxicity. So if the patient is already impaired with liver, and if the patient has a fever and has to give paracetamol, then we can give paracetamol along with licorice, and that will not make the patient more and more hepatotoxic. So paracetamol can be used along with licorice in the patient of liver impairment. Okay. Then piperlongum is again very important drug. It works differently. Piperlongum is again a herb where piperine has an action with the synthesis of drug chelating molecules in the food, such as glucuronic acid, has been proposed, and piperine may also interact with the process of oxidative phosphorylation or the process of activation and deactivation of certain metabolic pathways, slowing down the metabolism and biogradation of the drugs. So what happens is slow downs the metabolism. When the metabolism is slowed down, more and more metabolites are available for the cell to work. When metabolism is hastened, less and less time is available for a cell to have the activity of that drug. So piperine slows down the metabolism by the glucuronic acid pathway, and that's how it can increase the bioavailability of many antibiotics also. It has been studied very correctly. Even Panchavalkal also increases the bioavailability of many antibiotics, working on the biofilms of the bacteria. That has been studied very correctly. So these interactions of Piper longum, along with antibiotics, along with many drugs, can be used. So one of the first scientific experiments to confirm that Piper could enhance the bioavailability of the drugs was performed in the late by the Attel and co-workers at the Regional Research Laboratory, Jammu Tawi in India. These experiments reveal that Piper longum co-administered to rats orally with the drug Vasicine and Spiriton increased the blood level of Vasicine by 232%. See the impact of Ayurvedic herbs. That's why I tell that is a new area, new vertical of practice, that if somebody is practicing only on herb drug interaction and making the side effect more and more less to the patients, that can be a different vertical for the practice for the Ayurvedic people. So 232% increase in Vasicine and Spiriton. So similarly, Piper longum also has an increase in bioavailability with theophylline, with salbutamol. You know, all those drugs can be taken orally along with the Piper longum with a very, very low dose. So in some of the experiments, piperine has been proved to enhance the bioavailability of number of drugs, including rifampicin, phenantoin sodium, propranolol, theophylline. A patient based on the drug bioretentive property of piperine, I have even quoted the patent number, recommends the use of piperine in combination with drugs to improve their effectiveness. That's very, very important. So beta carotene absorption has been shown to be variable among humans, with some individual consistently reabsorbing it, with other do not. So even Piper longum can be, in our science also they have said that Piper longum, or specifically they have told about shunthi and ardrak, that ardrak should be taken before going for a meals, because of the food and shunthi interaction, because it increases the bioavailability of the nutrients in the food. And this increase in the bioavailability is due to the reduced metabolism of certain nutrients and making more and more time available for the nutrients to get uptaken by the intestines. That is very, very important with Trikatu or Shunthi. So bioavailability enhancement was also observed on the co-administration of other nutrients, including coenzyme Q10, selenomethione, vitamin B6, vitamin C, and propranolol hydrochloride, and herbal extracts such as curcumin with bioperine. So even piperine and curcumin, means Haridra, along with Piper longum or Trikatu, they have a very strong drug interaction which are helping to each other. So again, Trikatu, a combination of Piper longum, nigrum, and Shunthi, is essential ingredient of numerous formulation of Ayurveda. Its active principle, piperine, that we have discussed in detail actually, and the most important reaction where it works is a glucuronidation in a non-specific and non-competitive manner. So it is working at a phase 2 metabolism. So where phase 2 metabolism is getting affected due to Trikatu for many other drugs and making them more and more bioavailable. So again, Picroleo from Picrorhiza crua, Kutki. Dwivedi et al. Studied the effect of Picroleo on the pharmacokinetics of rifampicin in rat. It was that pharmacokinetics and bioavailability of rifampicin was not altered, thus indicating that Picroleo may be useful in management of prevention of rifampicin-induced hepatotoxicity, but it is not going to interact with rifampicin. As Trikatu interacts with the pharmacokinetics of rifampicin, Picroleo will reduce the hepatotoxicity, but it will not interact with the uptake of rifampicin. This is the difference between Picroleo, Kutki, and Pimpri, that is interacting with rifampicin. Then coming for the antimicrobial and anti-herbal interactions. So antimicrobial and anti-herbal interactions, that phytochemicals with synergistic effect as inhibitors of permeability enhancers How it works actually, that I have to show that phytochemicals with synergistic effects as inhibitors of permeability enhancers. Means many a times due to the certain obstructions of the drug into the bacterial cells, these phytochemicals, they increase the permeability of the antibiotics into the cells, or the efflux pumps. Means I have told you that certain bacteria, they have a tendency to kick out the antibiotic out of the cell again by the efflux pumps. So these phytochemicals, they also inhibit the efflux pumps. So some bacterial strains interfere with the antibiotic action by preventing the antibiotic from entering the cell, pumping it out faster than it can flow in, which results in the antibiotic action and development of the resistance. That's why there is a resistance with the bacteria. So this is one of the part, that is the permeability or the efflux pumps. Then there are different activities also. Just I will conclude. There are different activities also. That site of phytochemicals I have shown here. Then target site of target receptor modification I have shown here. And phytochemicals like EGCG, risankine, cornoside acid, and isoprene derivatives inhibit efflux pumps and prevent microbial exposure to subtherapeutic concentration and acquired resistance. So definitely there is a big list. Then phytochemical obstructs efflux pumps mediated exclusion of the drugs and reverse antibiotic resistance. This is also a very important function. So just I want to give that message that at the cellular level of the bacteria, our phytochemicals can have an activity to decrease the resistance to the antibiotic, or decrease the doses of antibiotic, therapeutic doses of the antibiotics, making the physician more and more easy to prescribe. So not going into much details of all these things. I have finished actually. Yes. Then again the activity of alcohol, because when we are using, majority of us use asaforistas in our prescriptions. So asaforistas are also alcohol. So there is a dual effect, beneficial from red wine or asaforista, flavonoids, and induction from ethanol exposure. So whenever we are using asaforista along with any herbal drug or modern drug, we should know that whether it is going to inhibit cytochrome or PG system, or whether it is going to stimulate it. That's how the absorption uptake of the concurrent drug will be monitored. So smoking also modulates 450. Then that's it. Then how to identify the herb drug interaction? So there is one technique, which is a very advanced technique, that is individual's metabolic signature. And individual exposure to food and environment compounds leave a metabolic signature. So these herb and drug interaction will not take place in each and every individual, because everybody's metabolism is different. As everybody's with what we can say that there is one sutra from the Charak Sutra Sthan, that each and every individual is different and metabolism also different. So Purusham Viksham Cha. So an individual exposure to food and environment compounds leave a metabolic signature. So Purusham Viksham Cha, it shows the metabolic signature which can be identified today in our body, changing the way we are interacting with our interactions within our environment. So many factors, including genetic, environmental, uterine exposure, lifestyle, diet, eating habits, contribute to the metabolic fingerprinting map for each individual organism. So each individual will not show the interactions. Someone will show, some will not show also. So this is very important. So going for a metabolic signature specifically for in Ayurveda research is very, very important, what I feel. And if we go for metabolic signature, definitely we can identify herb drug interactions very correctly. The last message I want to give is that remember, no drug produces a single effect. So my dear friends, see that if you are in the regiment that we are prescribing Ayurvedic medicines for months together, for years together, we have to remember the things that there can be multiple effects with the drugs, and that's why we have to be very, very cautious when prescribing the drugs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sabnis. It is a mind-boggling lecture altogether, and I'm sure everybody here has definitely got that feeling that drug interaction is not a small thing which can be overlooked easily while practicing. I think this cannot be contained within a period of 90 minutes. Probably there should be a course of 90 lectures which can really give some justice to those practitioners who are practicing Ayurveda, or those practitioners who are prescribing some kind of herbal combination along with the modern medical medicines which are been commonly in use. Because many a times as an Ayurveda consultant, what we find that patients who are taking modern medicines for long time, they come to Ayurveda, and we feel that it is difficult, not only difficult, to impossible at times to stop all those drugs and then start Ayurveda drugs. But and there can be some people may get into reactions, and that herb drug reaction can be hazardous for some. I think this is the beginning. This is just a scratch on the surface. What we have heard today, both the experts, Savrikar sir and Sabnis sir, is just giving us some stimuli. That stimuli which can help us to explore more, to learn more, and with I can only end up this. There are certain questions before we end up for sir. Mukund sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, please let me read some of the questions which are put in there. Because unfortunately I was out of the initial part of your lecture because of the lack of network. Yes, the first one. Does food also cause the interaction, as you have said correctly? So does that cuisines which have been there for thousands of years, traditional cuisines, are they immune of such interactions?
Yes, definitely. If you see, I think it has been quoted in Charak that if you see, for example, I'll quote one of the best example what I've learned, that the common example said that honey and grit. Then there are many common examples like fruits and milk should not be combined. But the thing which is practiced even today, which is very wrong, that Charak has clearly told that when we marinate meat, for example, chicken or mutton, it should not be marinated with the milk products like curds. Still today, because curds, it has a very, very strong interaction with the proteins which are present in meat. Okay, so this interaction should be registered actually. This interaction should be pointed out. And today, if we eat kebabs outside, or when we prepare kebabs at house, in the house also, we marinate the kebab with meat with the curds. This is a very strong interaction which has been elaborated by Charak. They have clearly mentioned that that meat should not be marinated, should not be mixed with milk products. So this is how we can elaborate the things very correctly.
Yeah, the meat is, in biryani making, meat is always marinated with the
curds, and that is very wrong.
Second is, what about ginseng? Because we commonly find products in the market which are multivitamins and are with the ginseng, or with the ashwagandha. So how they react then?
Then they have definitely ginseng. Basically, what amount of ginseng, what dosage of ginseng they are educated in these supplements, that is very important. Then in which form they are giving, and certainly ginseng or ashwagandha, it may be ginseng or it may be ashwagandha, the alkaloids are very important, and these alkaloids, they definitely interact with the central nervous system suppressant drugs, they interact with the blood thinners also. So ginseng like products or ashwagandha like products which are coming in the nutrition supplements should not be concurrently used along with the other herbal drugs or the modern drugs also.
Any more questions? Anybody? If you have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions.
Mukundji, very nice and informative lecture. Can you share your experience with not hormone drugs, but procedural and Ayurvedic procedural and drug interactions, or any your experience?
Yeah, while we are processing the medicine, drug interaction also is very, very important. For example, I'll tell you certain examples that when we are doing Parat Shodhan. So Parat Shodhan is done, majority of the time it is done with the rason. And rason it is heated at that time. It is not in the temperature is maintained, it is heated. And when we are heating, the diallyl disulfide from the rason is evaporated. And then there are certain complexes between rason and the mercury, which makes the toxins out of that mercury. Means when we take even pure mercury, and when we give a shodhan to the we give shodhan along with Rason Kalka, it interacts very fast, and that we can see the change in color of the mercury as well as Rason. That gives the change that there are certain toxins which are coming out, which are that interaction is also very important. Then again, when we are interacting with when we are doing, even for example, Asavarishta. So in Asavarishta, you can see that certain herbs are only enlisted or only are meant for preparing Asavarishta. When we are preparing, for example, there is a demarcation that certain medicines are to be used only in wet form, certain medicines are only in dry form. That prayoktavya sadaiva ardra. If we are making those drugs for Guduchi Kutujo Vasa Kushmanda Shatavari, Ashwagandha Sahachari Shatapushpa Prasarani, Prayoktavya Sadaiva Ardra. So if these herbs are to be used, when they are used in the dry form, definitely their action will change. So they have similarly categorized, means for everything, for swaras they have categorized the medicines which are swaras is to be made. They have categorized the medicines where kashaya is to be made, where fant is to be made. So these, they have considered the interactions while preparing the medicines, what I feel.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravi Narayan sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, actually, my concern was regarding some procedure. As on today in Ayush practice,
yes,
somebody doing pranayama. My procedural is to that their part,
okay,
but
okay,
it is not part of a drug interaction question.
Okay,
In that way, sir, because Chacharji is also doing all these panchakarma procedures, because now in pharmacovigilance, this procedural part and metrovigilance is coming up. So in there, sir, how to be, because Charak has also dedicated a chapter there. Your experience, sir.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Basically, when we are doing any procedure like Panchakarma, like Basti, Virechan, like first thing very important I missed actually in this lecture is that the interactions of the drug when we are advocating the medicine through the anal route, and the interactions of the medicines when we are advocating the medicine through oral route is totally different. So that is to be considered first. When we are doing certain procedures like Vaman, Virechan or Basti, when we are inducing emetics, or when we are purging the patient, definitely there is a strong interactions of the herbs which we are advocating concurrently. So this depends on the permeability and the lipid solubility of the herbs which we are advocating at that time. So definitely there is an interaction that what type of snehana dravyas we are using, what type of purgative or what type of emetic drugs we are using. Definitely there is interaction. If we consider the individual herb and individual procedure, we can definitely come to certain conclusions.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, it seems to me now that this kind of drug interaction and herb interaction internal within itself in vivo in vitro should be the part of the BMS syllabus, or it should be the part of the MD syllabus of the Bheshaj Kalpana or the Swasthotaya at least. And there is a need of not only a single lecture, but a course. I would request you to design a course of as many hours as you want, and we can definitely put this in the mind of people. It is a requirement. I'm scared practicing while listening to you or the sir. I'm really getting scared.
It is very interesting for people who are working.
Yeah. Sir,
So
definitely.
I have told certain biomarkers that if you want to identify the herb interaction, a simple biomarkers can be taken, and these type of studies can be done at an institutional level, like even IGPTR, even in BHU, even in many big institutes, this type of work can be taken with a very simple biomarkers. The biomarkers are not very costly. And for example, with just a paracetamol, you have also worked on it. So these type of interactions should be studied very nicely and put forth before the practitioners, so they can be benefited very nicely.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. We are looking forward for the course in coming days from you on this subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Namaste.